So if you're travelling or have a journey coming up, how might it all affect you? Jill Starley-Granger, who's editor of Jet Set Journeys, is with us. Jill, such a big question over this at the moment. I mean, widely speaking, if you have travel insurance, is coronavirus covered?
So for the most part, almost every policy would cover basic cancellations. But, so let's say when the flight ban happened to Italy, for example, most insurance policies would automatically cover that. But what would not necessarily be covered is all of the extras around it. And also if you had to go into quarantine. Policies that have travel disruption cover, if you're in the UK that is, UK policies with travel disruption cover would cover that. So make sure that your policy has that. And in some cases you can have that added on if the destination you're thinking of going to is currently, for example, fine. It's not on the Foreign Office all but essential travel list. So if you don't have it, ask your insurer and just get it added if you can, or possibly switch to a better insurer.
Can I just butt in here, because we've got quite a few questions from viewers, and this is a similar one to what Karen just asked you. We've got Lee who says, you know, what happens if the airline that I'm supposed to be flying with goes bust? There's a lot of concern about the viability of some airlines at the moment, isn't there? Yeah,
so most of the UK airlines are in pretty strong situation now. Obviously, we've had Flybe recently, but the big ones like EasyJet, Ryanair, British Airways, the major airlines are financially, they're quite strong. But other airlines around the world, and you might be on smaller airlines in Europe that do unfortunately suffer from this. You would, if you're traveling in and out of the UK, you are covered by something called ATOL. And what that means is that if your airline goes bust and you've booked a package holiday, that would cover you. But if you did not, then the airline, you would then have to rely on your travel insurance, and that's where that cancellation cover, and there's something called end supplier failure that you would have to rely on. And most policies include that, but again, check that it includes end supplier failure. Worst case scenario, go back to your credit card and you can claim on something called Section 75. So Section 75 will cover you both for the flight you can't take and consequential losses.
If you've booked on that credit card for the travel.
That's right, yes, sorry, of course.
You're talking in lots of cases about when things are cancelled on you, if a flight is cancelled or if there's government advice not to go somewhere. What about the grey areas? If you're going somewhere that's not currently on a list or flights are still going there, but you just don't think it would be a good move to go and potentially get trapped there for 14 days in quarantine, where do you stand?
Okay, so there are two situations with this. The first one is that legally and technically in most contracts, if you just choose not to travel, that is called disinclination to travel, and almost nobody is required to refund you for that. But the travel industry has come out as being really flexible. So most companies that I have spoken with, whether it's travel agents, whether it's even many of the airlines, are being surprisingly flexible. So even if the T's and C's say that you can't cancel for this, it is worth calling or doing an online chat and asking them if they will allow you to move your flight or your trip to either a different destination or a different date.
Jill, thank you. There are so many more questions.
There are.
I expect we could keep going for a very long time, but
many
we are
have been in touch. Piddy saying, I'm going to New York, I'm worried about getting stuck. A valid worry, Piddy. We don't know where you're tweeting us from, so we can't give you advice on that. But thanks so much for all your questions. Thank you to Jill.